Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
Hi, it's Ed Cohen in San Diego, California. Today is December 4, 2020. It's a little after 8 a.m. The sun is shining, and hopefully the sun will be on your face and the wind at your back today, and you have nothing but green lights. And I'm looking at the green light right on this computer, welcoming you to Global TV Talk Show. One of our original guests when we launched this series back in March was Rob Maisel, New York-based Renaissance man, and now an author. So we're going to learn about the challenges and experiences of writing a book, and not just writing it, but now the editing. So let's say hi to Rob. Hi there.
Hey, Ed. Hey, hello to everyone watching. Ed, thanks so much for having me back on the show.
Thank you.
It was a privilege. It's still a privilege. It's always a privilege.
Oh, you're so kind. Okay, so you're in Lower Manhattan by the East River?
Yeah, I'm right here in the East Village. Great area for anyone who's been. You may agree with me. You probably agree with me. If you don't agree with me, it's fine. If you haven't been here, it's a great spot.
So are you near Avenue A or Avenue B or Avenue C?
Both. Yeah, Ed, right, like in my apartment complex, there are different loops that people can come out of, and I often come out right on the Ave or FB loop. The Ave loop, which literally links to either Ave or FB.
So I assume you've been in Stuyvesant town a long time.
I have for a couple years now. Phenomenal. This is also valuable information for anyone who lives in New York City or who is thinking about making the move. It is a phenomenal place. There's usually a pretty high wait list to get in here, but there may not be now because of the situation. But it's essentially like having the peace and tranquility of living in the suburbs with amenities like a fountain, a gym, a playground for kids, a workout spot, even a cafe. Yet you have the peace and quiet of not living in the city, but you're in the city and you're in such a good location. You're close to Target and Trader Joe's now. You're ridiculously close to the metro. It's super well connected. It's a win-win-win-win-win plus another 10 wins if anyone's ever looking to move into the city.
So how close is it to the Brooklyn Bridge?
Ooh. I'd have to Google Maps that. I haven't really been going to many of the boroughs, but I will say that jumping on the L train, which I believe is close to there, it's super easy. We are one stop from Williamsburg.
Got it.
Pull up Google Maps now. Actually, I'm curious, Ed.
All right. Well, I've never been in Brooklyn. I've been through it, en route to LaGuardia or JFK, but I know what the area is, and it's so popular now. So I happen to know a little bit about your community because there's an old friend from last century that used to live there, and at that time it was under rent control, and nobody ever wanted to move. Is it still that way?
So it's interesting that you asked that because I believe that some of the units still are. So I happen to be in a unit that we were grandfathered in
good for you.
Yeah, to all kinds of good stuff, and the rent control is one of that. So there'll still be small increases, but very small. Like you never see anything really drastic going on. But I wonder if they've done away with that for all like current rentals. Side note, Ed, Brooklyn Bridge is a 51-minute walk from me. Just checked it out on Google Maps.
So it's probably about a mile. Wow. Okay, so the other bridge that's nearby, I forget the name of it, but there's another bridge, and going south towards Wall Street. There's another bridge before you get to Brooklyn Bridge, and I can't remember the name.
You know what? That is at the Williamsburg Bridge.
Ah, okay.
So that's even closer. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Great. So, Rob, what's the title of your book?
And you'll probably hate me for this. It's still it's still TBD. And no, the book is not going to actually be called TBD. So don't anyone get the wrong idea.
Yeah, work in progress. Okay, so how many pages do you have so far?
So, this is an interesting thing, right? Because as a first-time author, I'm not sure. And here's why. Because I am working currently in a Microsoft Word document. So I actually don't know like when that translates to actual book pages. I think that'll depend on
Right.
like how big is the book, like how big are the pages, what is the fonts? Actually, but what I can say in a general sense is I feel like it is long enough where it's not going to be one of those quick, easy breezy reads, but I also don't believe that it's going to be one of those ongoing, you start the book and you then you wish you didn't because it's so long and you'd feel like you'll never finish it.
That is very funny. I'm just checking for emergencies here. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good. We're fine. I think. Yep. Okay. So Action Central here on Friday morning in San Diego. So so what is that? That's a map of the city behind you.
It is. And what's so funny? Here I am Google mapping it. All I had to do, Ed, was turn around. Thank you for reminding me. We got all the bridges right here. We could check it all out. It's New York City. Yeah.
Okay, so have you had much contact with that person who we were on together with? She's from Tokyo, Thrive Tokyo, or something like that.
Catherine.
Yeah.
Right. Catherine Gronauer. Yeah, I have. She is really knowledgeable between, cross-cultural interactions between Japan and other Western countries and the U.S. And I've very much appreciated being in contact with and learning from her.
Yeah. Okay, so your book is basically about your travels and your experiencing and how you've been impacted by the various experiences. So sitting in New York City now and basically uh, not convenient for travel anymore, if not able to go. Um, that must be a strange feeling for you because you've been so much a traveling guy, and now there's some people still traveling, but hardly any compared to what it used to be.
That's such a good point, Ed. And what I'll say to that is you're completely right. It is a very unprecedented time for all of us, but specifically for those of us, such as myself, who are used to being on buses, trains, airplanes consistently. And now we are all consistently not on them. And so I think one of the biggest things for me is I'm used to just getting up, going wherever, exploring the world and learning. And I've personally found, as the book talks about, it shows how I transformed through travel and how just showing others that they can do the same thing. And so not having the opportunity at present to, let's say, easily go on these trips, such as everyone else in the pandemic, I've had to pivot. And it's interesting, Ed, because for the longest amount of time, I never read books unless I absolutely have to. It was like assigned at a university course. But I realized that I was learning so much, and I believe we can experientially through travel, but without that experiential learning, how could I continue to be a lifelong learner? And I really turned to books, podcasts, selected videos, TED Talks. I just looking for ways to continue soaking up valuable content, continuing to grow, learn, and add value to others.
So, have you looked at the travel logs produced by Rick Steves?
This is funny, Ed. I literally reached out to Rick Steves yesterday, I believe, if not the day before, because I was watching a video. So I'm in contact with a really cool organization called the Transformational Travel Council. And they're looking at a whole new level of travel, like a whole new category, essentially, of like how people
old school. I'm writing that down here.
Right. Yeah. Check out the Transformational Travel Council. They're doing some really, really exciting and impactful and awesome things. And through that, it's funny because I was just watching a video about, it was a journal a travel journal that's come out that people can use to sort of write down notes and think deeper about their trips. And the next thing that YouTube decided they would show, and at first I said, "Oh, I can't get sucked into this black hole," but I did get sucked into the black hole. Was a Rick Steves TED Talk. And I said,
Oh,
"Oh
really?
man,
Wow.
yeah." I said, "Well, hey, you know what? Like you said, this is a very smart guy who is very well traveled. Let me take 20 minutes out of my day to listen." And I found that, while he and I had very different travel experiences, a bit different countries, different interactions, the take-home message was the same. That like we can learn so much from travel. The way we do things here works, but the way they do things there also works. So opening up our eyes to new perspectives, and it prompted me to reach out and email him and his team.
Did he respond yet?
Yeah, actually, so he himself didn't, but almost immediately, I did get a response back from the team saying, "Hey, check out thank you so much for watching, Rick's TED Talk. Please check out. We have this other content here. You can see some of Rick's other, I think, videos or interviews." So I was super grateful for that, and I wrote back talking about how grateful I was for that.
Interesting. Yeah. So Joanna and I watched all the Rick Steves stuff,
Oh, cool.
and again and again. So, in fact, we just watched one from the archives from I think it was 2010, and it's fun because we watched the new ones, and then we saw him from 10 years ago, and his hair was different, and he was skinnier. And I think his voice was higher. I don't know what happened, but that maybe it's the wine. I'm not sure. But so in your writing, I've been following some of your notes. You're on Mailchimp that you send around.
Thank you for that, Ed. Thank you for being a loyal supporter of this journey. I appreciate you, my friend, and anyone else watching who has done the same, and anyone else watching who is not receiving those updates, but who has supported me or the travel industry in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you bet. So we all need an audience. The old word has become new, the tribe. Find your tribe or develop a tribe. It's basically the following, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially,
Yeah.
you're right, Ed.
Yeah. So on yesterday's program, there was somebody, this executive recruiter that I mentioned earlier. He says it's okay to have a mentor, but a mentor is someone who talks to you, but it's better to have an advocate, someone who will talk about you.
Of that.
Think about that, huh? So in your journey of writing this book, it must be a mental anguish sometimes at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when you're saying, "What am I doing? Why am I thinking about this thing? I got to go do something else." And you get up, maybe have a tea or a coffee, and sit down in front of the screen, and all of a sudden you're into a new thing. And so I assume you've had some of those moments. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And if I might use this as a segue to speak a little bit about some of those challenges, maybe provide, yeah, I had found when I first started writing that I would sort of write whenever I found I had time, but I found actually penciling it into the calendar is helpful. Like, this is the time I'm going to write. And because once it's on the calendar, there's a different level of responsibility there, I believe. And another thing is that as I was going through, I realized, you know what, Ed? If I'm tired, it's not a good idea to write. I'll tell you why. Because I'm gonna have to just look back at what I did. If my brain's functioning on like 43% capacity or whatever it's doing, whatever I'm doing is gonna have to be looked over again. I might have missed some important details. My writing might have been sloppy, and have to come back and fix things. And it's just like I felt like I ended up, the one time notably that I did that, I just ended up going back and having to spend more time going through it to like sort of sort through the content and figure out how to make it optimal. So I said, why even write if you're not tired? So I think being in line with your circadian rhythm, understanding when you have the most energy throughout the day, and focusing on those important tasks. This is, applicable advice for any business owner, but specifically when writing a book, right? If writing, as it should be, if you're on task and you're committed to writing a book, is going to be, it's an important thing for you to get done. So you need to find the time, whether that's once a day, whether that's twice a day, whether that's once a week, whether that's 2 or 3 times a week, whatever your time frame is, but just to write when you're feeling it, to write when you're feeling good, comfortable, confident, and you get into that flow state where you're just going and the ideas are flowing.
Hey, so how many times, and you can tell me to mind my own business, but
Mind your own business, Ed.
Okay, this is my business. So how many times have you, because you woke up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're rested for some reason, you had that one extra glass of wine at 8:30 or 9 and you fell asleep, and so 2:30 or 3 you're wide awake. So how many times have you got back to chapter 18 or something and say, yuck, you didn't rip it up, but you just started to do the same thing in a different way?
That's a great question. Something I've learned about writing a book and going through the editing process is, well, let me start by saying that part of my personality, who I always was, and who I'm actually working on this, is being a perfectionist, right? Making everything like I want this to be the absolute best thing that the audience can ever have and will change their life. And it's got to be the best. Now I still maintain that attitude, but I'm coming to a place where I still want it to be as good as it can, but I'm realizing that we can always change things. Like what the brain does is, as we're going through, we keep finding, I think at a certain point, we just have to say to ourselves, okay, we're done. We're going to move on, because we can keep finding things to edit and then different ways to word things. And we can really go down the rabbit hole and just keep going forever on that. But there is value in editing it and providing it to beta readers or folks who, at least in the initial, after your initial first draft, so people who can read it and provide you feedback, an outside perspective that you can't see yourself because you're the one in it and writing it.
And now a word from our co-sponsors. Our programs wouldn't happen without the wonderful support of our advertisers. Here they are.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic, because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
Cube Monk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Track your goods with our advanced GPS system. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at heirs.com.
Insured Nomads provides protection and peace of mind, with health insurance, travel insurance, group, or tailored insurance for the globally mobile. Visit us at insurednomads.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Hi, my name is Christine. I'm a nurse from the Philippines, and I got to know IAS through Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. And I want to thank IAS, especially to Matthew, for helping me get my car stress-free, headache-free. And so I just want to show you the car that I got. So it's a RAV4 XLE 2020.
As an expat moving to the USA, relocating is exciting, but it can also be stressful. Getting a car, truck, or SUV for personal transportation is usually a high priority. That's where International Auto Source comes in. We make getting the vehicle you want for your work assignment or academic program easy, so you're ready to drive when you arrive. Our product specialists have helped over 50,000 expatriates with their personal transportation needs, making us the largest international auto retailer in the world. International Auto Source gives you flexible payment options to buy, lease, or rent a vehicle from the world's leading auto brands, arrange financing on a purchase or lease without a U.S. credit history, social security number, or driving record, get full insurance coverage, and get approved easily through our low-rate factory-backed financing programs. And because we're an authorized distributor of the world's leading automotive brands, our no-haggle prices are competitive, and the buying experience is hassle-free. We'll even guarantee your new vehicle will be ready the day you arrive. With over 20 years of experience in the global community, we are the vehicle experts for expats. We are International Auto Source.
So I don't know whether you read this writer, Daniel Silva, S-I-L-V-A. He's writes about espionage and.
I'm going to write that down, Ed. I hadn't heard of him prior. Daniel Silva?
S-I-L-V-A.
Okay.
He's written about 20 books.
Wow.
But it's all in the same genre of espionage and machinations between CIA and other intelligent agencies or intelligence agencies. And so I just read it. And you know what I'm doing now? I'm going back in time, even though I had the hardcover, because I like buying the hardcover. I can't stand Kindle. but I like the hardcover thing. Now I'm going back and finding at the dollar store in the throwaways his old books that were in paperback.
Interesting.
And all the pages are, and sometimes I feel like I should put the antiseptic spray on the book before I touch it.
Well, you probably should. Who knows who's been touching that, Ed?
So, but anyway, I'm finding so much enjoyment about going back, even though I know something about the story, but now having gone through his latest book, which just came out, and I read it. I saw it at Costco at $16, is even lower price than it would be on Amazon. And I just snapped it up, and then it was a fast read. And now I want more. So now I'm going back to the old ones in paperback and seeing their perspective. So anyway, in each of his forewords or the end epilogue thing, he talks about thanks to the editors and this editor and that editor and blah, 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 and I thought of you going through all these machinations, and it takes a lot. And this guy's a big seller, and I can just imagine all this periodic stress you probably have about you think it's really good sounding to you, but then someone else with a neutral eye reads this thing and they say, what are you doing here? And then getting over the anger and then all right, sitting down and getting it done.
Absolutely, Ed. You touch on a couple really good points there. One, just context, how you are going back through some of these older books that you have and finding a new book, for example, but with the same author. He's like, oh, well, Daniel Silva, this is really interesting because some of his stuff. So when we tend to have context, I think we become more interested. We already have a vested interest, so we are more interested, whether that means rereading the same book and gaining a new perspective on it, or reading a new book but knowing something about this author's past, personality, prior books you've read, and so on. But yes, certainly, there's been a lot of stress just thinking about, when are we going to get this finished and published? When is the right time? Is it insensitive because people can't really travel right now? Or is it helpful because people can't travel, to start their ideas flowing and getting those powerful ideas generated about how they can start planning their dream trip, how they can start understanding how travel can change their lives. And to your other point, yes, it's very helpful to get an outside perspective, because I'm sitting here writing this and I think it sounds great, right? Well, who wouldn't like this? And then, in comes a conversation, let's say with one of the beta readers or my mom, and she says, Robert, you can't say it like that. You're going to offend the whole world. And, and it's that, like, finding that common ground. By the way, shout out to my mom, super appreciative of you for having me, bringing me into this world, and for helping me figure out this whole ordeal and puzzle, because it really is helpful to get that other perspective, right? Because she's older than me, she's more experienced, she's giving me another angle that I can use to better understand how my content may be perceived. And at the end of the day, Ed, we can't please everyone, but we can certainly just try to give it our absolute best. And that's what I'm doing.
We're out of time in like 5 minutes. So I wanted to ask you what you'd like to talk about for the next 4 minutes.
Sure. Well, Ed, as you may know, I have an improv comedy background, so coming up with stuff on the fly is my specialty. Actually thinking about it, I think what could be of value is thinking about adding value to others, because it is a core component of what I am aiming to do with the book. And I just want to say that what I have found throughout my experiences interacting with people, networking, writing a book, my intention to add value to others genuinely, without any desire for or expectation of reciprocation, has proved to be incredible.
So What kind of wine do you like?
You know, Ed, I have to be honest, I don't know much about wine. When I go out for a beverage, it often falls into the beer category. But I would say that I am open-minded and I am open to trying different wines. Is there a specific one that you really like or that you might recommend?
Well, I go to Costco and get the big giant jug, you know, and so they put the Kirkland label on it, which means it's somebody else's stuff. Um,
Ah,
so I'm not sure whose it is, but it's kind of middle of the road. Red Cabernet is good. And recently we bought the box. You know, ordinarily you think of buying box wine, you know, you have somebody on Skid Row thinking about wine, but this it was actually really good wine in the Costco red box.
okay, Ed, so that's good feedback. The Costco red box has good wine, and I would further ask for your advice on this one. When I'm having one of those days where I'm just not feeling like writing, I'm feeling stressed. Is it better for me to just drink the whole box, splash it onto my computer, or do both?
Oh, I'd be careful.
Yeah.
And you know, you can't really. I really can't indulge in red wine because I like to sip it rather than drink it. Um, but if it's got some body to it, and it's not too young, in other words, it's not thin, colored water, um, but it has some body to it, then it's absolutely the best thing.
Well, Ed, something really interesting just on that topic is I'm always fascinated just by people and curious about people, and I'm always fascinated by people when you get them talking about something they're passionate about, and you can tell just by the way they're talking, gestures, facial expressions, and so on. So what happens is, it's just, for example, wine. I remember during my study abroad experience in Argentina, we went to Mendoza. We did a wine tour. It was incredible. I knew nothing about wine, Ed, to this day. Like I told you, I still pretty much don't. But there is an amazing appreciation that I have for people who do know about wine and learning just little things about the reason why there is this much wine poured into the glass, and how to drink it, and how to just evaluate how it sticks, how it sticks on the glass, or how it kind of falls back down, how it smells, how it tastes, how to sip it. And like there's all these elements that go into this that someone like myself just wouldn't know until we try or learn.
So was that? So did you taste? Do you remember? Was it the Malbec, or was it another blend?
You know, while I can't remember specifically as it was years ago, Malbec does definitely sounds like it might have been on the
Yeah,
agenda that day.
in Argentine. Yeah, so this has really been interesting. So here in San Diego, about a half a mile from here, is Little Italy, which is
Yes.
nothing like New York, but it's sort of like Southern California glossy version replica, almost like a Disneyland of Little Italy. And so we go to a couple of places there, of course. And one of the places at the end of the street um, is an Argentine restaurant. Now, as you may know from your cultural thing, is that there are a lot of Italians for some reason went to Buenos Aires.
Yes, yes.
And so there's a lot of Italian influence in Argentina. And so there's this restaurant, which is fabulous place, or was still in business, but you know, all these restaurants are having trouble. So you go, they have a happy hour, 5 p.m. happy hour. Actually, it starts earlier, but we usually don't get there till 5. And you sit at the bar, and for $5, you get a goblet of Malbec, you know, and the
Hmm.
real stuff. Okay, and boy, it's great. And so after a couple of those, then you want to continue to sit there rather than adjourn to the restaurant where the prices go up 100%. But so you sit at the bar and you have their um, almost like a poo-poo platter of Argentine food, and part of that is a strip steak and with a chimney something sauce,
Okay.
the green sauce. It's really spicy, and then some potato and a green salad. God, it's great. And so that's the happy hour choice of food for me.
Do they do any empanadas there, Ed?
They probably do, but I don't think I recall having one. But I know the name.
Interesting. No, I'm glad to hear that you found a spot that's not too far from you that's got all these amazing combinations of Argentine food and wine.
Yeah, and relatively inexpensive. So, Rob Maisel, I've really enjoyed our time together. Come back again, and we'll have more time. And I wish you well on TBD.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited about getting TBD out to the world, and
It's better than COVID, I'll tell you.
oh
that.
yeah, no, and I'm always grateful for your time and for being invited on this awesome show, Ed.
Yeah, okay. Yabba dabba do. See ya.
All right, take care, Ed.
Ciao. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.